And so the other thing, just to touch on the paint, you have in your kit, I call it a number of different things. Some people call this hot pink, some people call it fuchsia. It's kind of a magenta pink, I've heard it called, but it is fireweed pink. That's what I call it, because this is my Yukon fireweed color. And so all the kits will have this color, because the second painting, you cannot, with the colors that you have in all of your kits, mix this color. I am a self-taught artist, and I discovered that a long time ago, that I needed to buy a certain kind of paint in order to make the fireweed, and this is the magic one. Okay, so now I've explained the kits. Yeah, there's two different styles, like I said. Some have the tubes loose, some have them in the kit all together, but they all are essentially going to do the same thing. Okay, and I'm going to give this back to Kara, and I think we can begin. So I'm just put some of the colors in there. But before we start that, we are going to do a little sketch on our canvas. So this picture, as you know, this is the autumn colors. When you look at your picture, I like to break the painting into shapes. Okay, so just doing a quick little drawing, and then Kara's going to do hers. There's triangular shapes. This is what I look for a lot in pictures, especially to do with mountains, because obviously they're somewhat triangular at times, and in this picture they are. So I start with this, with the line, just to figure out where this nice orange mountain is going to be in the background. And I make a very long triangular shape. And then I make another shape here. And I make another triangular shape. I just look for all the shapes. So in the back we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Just simplifying it. So I'm going to put another one here, and it's a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to put one in the distance here. Okay, so if you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. They're not all closed at the bottom, but they will be. Then when I look at the picture, sometimes what I do is I squint at a picture in order to eliminate any of the finer details in order to see those shapes. So here is the dark trees at the base of those mountains, and that is another shape, triangular. I'm going to put that in. Okay. And then I'm going to put another line which shows where, I'll discuss this in a second, just along there. And that's all I'm going to do. Okay, so I don't want to make it too cluttered with details, and I'm not going to put those trees in yet, because those things can be decided later. So basically what this is to do is to give you an outline of where you're going to put your paints. So if I were to mark colors on this color right here is an orange. It's a very light orange, like a yellowy orange, and then these ones are kind of like a purpley brown. And then I make, this one is in the distance, so there's a lot of blue. When mountains get far away, they look blue. And so this is the background of your picture. And then we have something called the middle ground of our picture. And then we have something called the foreground of our picture. And that is in the front of the picture, very close to you. Okay, so just keeping in mind, things get bigger when they're in the foreground, in the front of the painting, and they get smaller when they get to the back of the painting. How's it going for you, Kara? Is this making sense?
All right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so she's doing her little sketch now, and I'm going to just put that picture down there. And yeah, so we're going along just fine. Any questions?
I need the picture.
Okay, yes, you need the picture. See, I have her picture, but that would be in her kit.
And when you
Don't be afraid to ask questions, Kara, because that's no problem. We can work things out.
I feel like that has to be a bit bigger.
Which one? This one?
This one right here.
Yeah, you can make it a bit bigger. See, this is the thing. Everybody's eye is different. And, you know, it's okay for you. See, when I paint this hill, like I might make it a bit bigger coming down at the bottom too, you know? Because mine is kind of, there's a line going like this, right? And see, I don't actually have that, so my line could just become more like that, right? So I really was kind of holding it up in the air and not really paying much attention to, I mean, I pay a little bit more attention when I'm doing it too, but the other thing I don't want you to get caught up in is a lot of people want to copy the photograph. And what's really nice is if you make it originally yours, you might change something totally different, and that's okay. That's what you want to do. You want to use your creative imagination to inspire you, really, to paint this picture and to make it unique. While Kara's doing that little sketch, I just want to point out that in the setup we have water, and I've used a recycled jar, and we have some old newspaper. I think these are flyers from a furniture store underneath, because this painting it can be very messy, and you might notice that I have on an apron. Yeah, pull your sleeves up, because if this paint gets on your shirt, if you don't wipe it out right away, you'd have to run to the washroom and get some soap and water and get it cleaned off, because once it's in there, it's not coming out. It's that kind of paint. So mums and dads, be aware of that if you're working with your kids, that this paint is not going to come off of anything, off of furniture, chairs, everything. It's gonna leave a lasting impression. Okay, so do you feel good with your drawing? Feel ready? Okay, so I have a picture and I've left it at this stage, that I painted just to test out the colors and everything in the kits. And this picture, the reason it's actually unfinished, but the reason I've done this is because I just want to stress to you that a lot of people want to start doing all the little details and everything. What we need to do, forget the trees and these bushes still, we just need to block in all the colors, okay? We need to get all of the whole canvas colored in order to build layers and detail on top, okay? So I call that my base layer, and I call it blocking in, okay? Blocking in the colors. So these canvases have already been painted with gesso, so we're not doing any of that. There's just a white gesso, but you don't want the white showing up, okay? So as far as colors, we can probably get your paint, we can get that loaded up now. So, as I said, when we start painting, we start from the back of the painting, the background, and we work forward. So we're going to start with our sky first. So you have two different blues in all of your kits. You can put them in your, in two of your little pots over there. And yeah, so this is the part that'll take some time, but I'm so glad that there's, oh, and I'm wondering if, yeah, I'm wondering if it's mixed enough. I found that some of them weren't. Okay, so when you're getting your trays ready, I just want to point out that I found that I had to really kind of, the paint separates a little bit, so I would take it and I would open it, but I would put the lid back on and shake them and just manipulate them so that the paint was really well mixed. because I noticed there was a little bit of separation in some of the paints. So that's just a little tip for you. It doesn't happen with all of the colors, just some of them. Maybe it's just the properties of the paint. So give that a try. Alrighty, so we have a dark blue and a light blue. Okay, and we're going to put, now some of you only have white. Now I want to make sure, just a little tip about when you're using your white. Some of you have the tubes, but you want to not, what I call, pollute your white. You want to keep it clean. So I usually have that plate over there that you have, your styrofoam plate. I'll have 2 or 3 different like pools of white paint. You can just use this too as one, and then if you want to put some on there. The reason you do that is because you're going to want pure white sometimes, but if you're mixing with blue, you're going to find that, you know, you might dip. Words don't describe it. Is this your home, Kara? Is that where this where you live?
Well, right now it's where I'm living, yes.
Yeah, so this isn't what you call home, like for where you were raised or whatever. No, but you were a Yukoner? Okay, so you're like me. I'm from a different area too, but I really appreciate the beauty here. Okay, so now on to the next, blocking in colors. So when I looked at this picture, like when I say squint at the picture, I mean just try to get the basic colors. This on Kara's picture, this area here, like it's a very light. Like I would encourage you to probably use a yellow, and if you're going to mix any red with it, it has to be the tiniest bit. So, but I'm going to just give you. I have a little bit of orange on here. Some of you have orange in your kits, and then you're going to open up a little bit of your yellow, and you're just going to make that. I hope you don't mind I did that.
It's okay.
Yep. So I'm going to make mine, like this is the yellow. It's that bright yellow, not the lemon yellow, but the lemon yellow will work too. And I'm going to paint that all yellow. So the ones of you that do have orange, you can use the orange. If you don't have orange, you're probably gonna, and I when you were making up your palettes, I encourage you to put the colors on as you're going to need them, because like I said, they dry. So what's the point of having the red on there when, you know, you don't need it till like, you know, half an hour after you're into the painting. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a teeniest bit of red, and because I gave Kara some orange on hers, but I'm gonna see what happens when I it's just a teeny, tiny, tiny bit of red. It makes it orangey, but if you put red on there first, you would have to mix all day to get it light. So you start with the light color and just add a tiny bit of the red to it, and then blend it, okay? And then you'll get your, that's the reason I'm showing you that. It's for some of you that don't have orange in your kit. There's a lot of color theory that I could go into, but the 3 basic colors are red, blue, and yellow, and you can mix a lot of colors from them. Okay, so I've got that on there. Now I'm gonna just wipe my brush. I'm not gonna, because if I take a little bit of brown, now you might not have brown open yet, that's fine, Carrie. You can open, I've got a light brown. It's kind of an orangey brown, but I think some of you have that. And if you don't,
so it's this color.
Okay, well let's put that's your light brown.
Yeah.
Let's put it in your tray and see what happens, because we can add a little bit of, what would you do to make that a little bit more orangey? That's pretty orangey, isn't it? Yeah, that's why I'm saying. So the light brown, some of you don't have the light brown, some of you might have the dark brown, but all I'm going to get you to do is put your lightest brown from your kit onto your tray, and if you have to mix it with a bit of red, a tiny bit of red, or if you have the orange, then you just make it a little orangier, okay? So that middle triangle, I'm gonna just paint. I know you're thinking, well, it's not really brown, but sometimes you have to dip your brush in the water a little bit too to get the paint to flow on your canvas. But remember, this is the blocking in stage. So now we're gonna do the a brown triangular mountain. See that? Oh, I'm making it a little bigger. Yeah, see? Okay. And when you're ready, Kara, you can use a little more paint. You've got lots of paint in your tray that's probably, and we're going to be adding some colors on top of that later, okay? Not right now. When it dries, we will. Okay, so okay, and then we have a third mountain. So we can maybe make that mountain, just changing the color a little bit. We can maybe just put I'm going to take some water and just, this paint from the brown, I'm going to just drag a little bit of it over onto that mountain. Just drag a little bit, okay? And then I'm going to, we have some blue and some white and some brown on our tray right now. So I'm going to take, remember I said about the cleaning the brush thing, I'm going to take some white on my mixing tray. That's where you might want to use your, and I'm going to mix it with, and Carrie, you can try this because I'm going to mix it with, oops, now see mine just ran down like that. That's okay, I'm going to just take this and wipe it. I'm going to mix it with a bit of blue, tiny bit of blue. And then I'm going to mix it with a tiny bit of brown. So I'm going to mix all three colors. A little bit more blue till I get like a grayish color. And I'm going to make that one a grayish color. It's kind of looking brown, but if I add a little bit more, this is the art of mixing. And some of you, like this is the thing that makes you, I don't know if any of you have painted before, but this is the thing that's going to really make your paintings and you as an artist grow. And what I'm really hoping is that when you're done this class, you're going to have the painting bug and you're going to want to paint. And might not be me that's painting with you, but maybe another artist will inspire you. Maybe it will be me again. But it's just such a joy, not just to be good, but art is therapeutic. It's healing. It's good for your soul. It's good for your body because when you paint, you just go into another world. And I think it's really, really important for all of us to be creative. Some people are creative in a different way than I am, but I'm sharing this type of painting creativity with you today. So I'm just showing you a little bit about mixing because I think it's good. I think you're gonna learn. You're gonna just either go with it more, or maybe you'll do another painting and try something different. But I think this is gonna be a starting point for a lot of you that haven't painted before. And I have painted hundreds of classes in my lifetime, and a lot of people are painters now. So I'm hoping when I say that, they all got the materials and the supplies, and I can help with that too. If ever you once you're done with these kits, if you want to order paints and get yourself set up to actually paint, you can contact me and I will give you a supply sheet and a place. I'll give you the good places to get your supplies, and I'll help you get set up. Okay. So once you get that going, you're getting into this, Kara. And we're going to hold Kara's up in a second too and show what she's doing. Now I'm going to just show you, see my brown sort of bled down here. That's no problem because the colors mix. And then it actually, because I put water, it ran right down the thing, and I was like, oh no. But that's okay. So when you're ready to, if you got all the canvas covered, you don't want to leave white places in between because it just is nice to have the canvas with a grounding of paint on it. And even if you got to bring it up over the, just. And then that fourth mountain, it's really far in the distance, and what happens when things are in the distance, it's called atmospheric perspective. That's a big word, but what it means is that there's a lot of atmosphere between you and those distant mountains, and that air is blue. It blues things in the distance. It makes the mountains blue. That's why they look blue when they're far away, because there's a lot of atmosphere and air between you and that mountain or sky, and the sky is blue, so it blues those mountains. Okay, so I'm going to just take my blue and I'm going to make that mountain blue. It's very simple, just giving it a blue color. You can, by the way, use your paint really thick if you want. You don't have to use it thin. That's why I said some people like intensity colors that are really bright and intense. Some people like really gentle colors that are pastel-y or very transparent looking. Okay, so there, just to show you, I've got that mountain blue, and Kara is doing hers.
Okay.
I think I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah, I'm like, we'll cut it out later.
I'll be right back. Do I sound okay? Okay. I'm like, hold on. I'll be back. That's looking really pretty. Okay, so let's hold up your painting, Kara, for everybody to see. And we'll mine and we'll hold it up. So we've got the background pretty much painted, and now we're going to work on the shapes in the middle ground. So there is an area that has really dark trees. That's that triangular shape here. I think we'll just get that one in, okay? And you can make it a dark green, you can make it a light. That's so beautiful about acrylic paint is that it's very versatile, it's very forgiving, as in you can put lots of layers on, and you can change things. Like if you think, oh, I don't like that at all, you could even change the shape of the top of your mountain if you wanted, but you'd have to have the paint thick enough to cover is all. Just so you know, okay? So now we've got that green. The other thing, just to give you a little bit of an experiment here, if I took a little bit more of that green and I just brought it right down into this area here, like you know how you have, like, you know that's your triangular shape, but if I did that, when I paint the red on top, because we're going to do a very big layer of red here in a sec, you can actually have some of this, just like, I'm just putting some greens here and there, and lightly, and the reason I'm doing that is because the red isn't always completely red. It has a bit of green mixed in with it. And it makes a nice effect if you don't want to have it too strong, but you just have a little bit of, so lay some here and there. And if you look at your picture, you'll see what I mean. In some areas you have it a little bit. I picked this particular subject on purpose because I did an artist in the school, and I painted it with children that were as young as grade 2, I believe. And they did a fantastic job. They really loved it, and the shapes, they really were able to understand with the shapes, and we got some really phenomenal paintings. So I really feel that this is something that everybody can feel comfortable doing. Okay, so then that we have a really bright red, and I think your red is all of you should have a really bright red. I could look at some of the names, but we have a crimson red and a scarlet red.
Just a normal bright red.
Yeah, but you can even just, the other thing you can do is you can even just test if you think, well, is that the red I want? But you want to have your brightest, orangiest red for this particular, and I mean, it's kind of obvious why. If you look at your photo, you've got that really bright red there. So I'm going to grab my bright red, and I'm going to just, this is the part where it's like, whew, I'm going to put that whole area, the whole thing, I'm going to paint right up to this spot here. And I'm going to overlap. Remember I said I overlapped? And see how that goes on top of that? Mm-hmm. It really makes a nice effect, having that, just those little bits of green down below. So I'm going to just color the whole thing red. And I stopped painting the side of my canvas. I remember I was showing you with the blue at the top. But you can do that later too if you want to. When you're totally finished, you can overlap the colors a little bit. You don't have to. It's just one of my little pedantic little things that I like to do. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to wash my brush off because I'm just going to get rid of that red. I got lots of red on mine, and I'm going to show it to you. So you notice I haven't put any trees in yet. I haven't put any extra lines on anything. We have our base. Okay, so here is mine. And we'll have a look at Kara's in a minute. Oh, the green's nice underneath, eh?
Wish it would blend out a bit more.
It will later, because what you're going to do is you're going to layer more color. Like this, what will hold up Kara's here when she gets her brush cleaned off. And one thing she has commented on is that she wishes that her green would blend a little bit more. But you know, you can use that area as an area to build your bushes, like these areas like this, on top of some of those areas, because there's kind of a line behind the trees a bit, right? And even back here, you can actually layer some, like even some yellow. So this is your base, and this is where we can see, you'll see how the paint covers and how you can change things, but it's a layering process. But this is one of the biggest things that I try to teach people is that you need to have something to paint on top. A lot of people, when they first start, they want to do all kinds, and then it just doesn't get that layer underneath. And this is really important because you can add texture, you can add more colors, you can even change things a little bit still, of course. Like I said, like I might actually bring this up a little higher in mine. Like I made my strip, but you know what, it's okay. It's okay that it's not exactly like the picture. So, that being said, another thing I just wanted to let you know that we can do is I have, amongst my tools that I use, I have a blow dryer. Now, we're not going to do a blow dryer here today, but if you wanted to blow dry your picture, then it's ready for your next step, okay? And so we'll let our paintings dry, and then we'll carry on to the next step. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so we're going to take a little break, and then we can come back. And we're going to be talking too much? No, okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, because
Talk as much as you like.
I don't know why I just kind of just do that when I'm thinking I talk too much. Okay.
That was a good laugh.
We should have sprayed your paints. I wasn't paying attention either. How are they? Are they okay?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Some of them might be getting a little tacky, but we're good. Okay, so we're on to our canvases are now dry. And I've had time to dry. And now we're going to look at, we've got every area covered. So we've got a base of paint on the whole thing, which is really good because now we can build on that. So what I generally do when I'm painting is I start in the back again, now that everything's dry, and then I work forward. And in the photograph we have these lovely trees, but these are the finishing close-up details that we're not going to do until very far along. So we're still not going to be concerned with those. But when we look at a picture, you see how there's, in the mountains, there's darker lines. Those are the shadows in the mountains. We want to get that in our paintings. So you have, on this one here, there's not really very much. So we'll just leave that orange mountain for now. But let's see if we can get some detailing shadow lines in the background. So first thing I'm going to do, you have made your color a little darker on your mountain, which is good. I would probably make some of my shadow colors a little lighter, not go darker yet, right? Because it's pretty dark what you have there. So it doesn't matter what color, like, all you're going to do, you can mix white with a little bit of your color. Like I find that this is quite purpley to me. Does that look like a kind of in the back? There's a bit of a purple tone in the browns. So all we're going to do is we're going to put some, and I mean you can see that there's some red on here. That can come later, but we're going to just get some of these shadows in these back mountains. So if I were to look at this mountain here, I'm going to show you how I would do it. One other thing I want to say is that whenever we are looking at a landscape, you might not realize this, but the light is coming from some direction. It might be totally overhead, but it could be to the right or it could be to the left. So you need to kind of register that in your painting. And if you look at this one, it probably is coming from your right hand side, because you see how you see shadows on this side, and then you can see the lighted side of the hill. So that's how I'm going to do it. So I'm going to show you, and then you can. So you have that brown. I'm going to mix a bit of brown, and I'm going to take a little bit of the blue again and mix it with the brown, just a little bit of the blue. And I'm also going to take a little bit of, you don't have any pink out, do you? Because if we wanted to make a really nice purple, you could take a little bit of your pink, Kara, and any of you guys can do this too. Depends on how purpley you want your purple to be. If you mix red and blue, it makes purple, but the red and blue that you have on your palette right now is gonna make a very grayish kind of dull purple. And then but we'll try it, okay? So I'm gonna take a little bit of the red. Remember I mixed a little bit of the brown there too with the blue. That was just for this brown mountain, but I'm gonna take a little bit of blue, a little bit of that bright red, and I'm going to take some white, and I'm gonna mix it with that, because that'll make it a lot lighter. And then I'm going to take, it's just a bit of a mixing back and forth process, okay? And you'll get the color that you like. So you have to add a little bit of red, a little bit of blue, a little bit of white. It kind of goes browny, but okay, so now I have on here a little bit of that. And I'm just going to put some of those colors, see, in the mountain here. I'm just going to drag some of those colors in here. Now it looks kind of dark, as you can see right now. But then I'm going to wait for you, Kara, because I can paint really fast. And that's one of the things that I do. I'm pretty speedy Gonzalez. So let's see what you get for, yeah, so you got lots of white. Yeah, let's see what happens. So even if you get like just a gray color, if you get your brush kind of cleaned off once you get that mixed, it doesn't have to be totally mixed too, because sometimes broken color on your painting is nice too. Like you can mix the colors right on the canvas a little bit. So like if there's a little bit of white and a little bit of blue and gray. So let's grab a little bit of your red. Did it dry out or is it still okay?
No, it's good.
Okay. Just put that off to the side and then just mix a little bit in with it. Don't mix it all in like you did the other. Just mix a little bit on the edge and see what happens. Okay, and you might need a little bit more. Okay, so you're getting kind of like a, see how the blue, if you want it to be darker blue, purple, you need a little bit more blue. The mixing part is really hard to teach, but it's kind of in a process where you experiment a little bit. You put a little bit of blue, and don't put all of your pink on the tray. Just put a little bit on the tray and mix it a little bit here and there, because you're going to want to do another painting. Like I said, we've got 2 paintings in here. Or you might even want to do this one again once you try it once. You might think, oh, okay, I learned a lot of stuff. I might do it again. Doesn't matter which paintings you do in here. But you see how you're getting different purples and different pinks, and it's quite nice, hey? And when you look at the photo, you're going to see that if you look at it closely, there's some really light oranges in here, but we're not going to put those on until later, okay? We're just going to get these darks in your picture. So you might notice that at the base of the mountain it's dark, okay? So you're going to get some dark down there too. And if you're losing the dark, you just got to mix a little bit more blue with it and get that shadow in there. And I'm going to do that. Like I'm finding that you've got all of these colors on here. So back to the bright red that we had, and even mixing it with that color that I just made, like I just made a really dark, is that dark that is? And just put some of that on there. Okay. Now this mountain that's, when you're ready, you let me know, okay?
I'm ready.
Okay, so this mountain that's off in the distance, I'm going to just take a little bit of white and a little bit of blue and just layer a little bit of light blue just on that too. See, like that? Just because I want it to have another value of color. That's another lesson altogether about values, but values are kind of interesting because, I'm going to show you that. When you have values, if you've had I'm gonna grab a piece of paper actually. I'll be right back. I'm gonna grab a piece of paper just to show you. Gosh, can I find a piece of paper? It's okay, because he can pause it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking for a piece of paper now. Here. Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's exactly what I need, because I don't want to use the whole canvas to show this thing. Is this okay?
Is it stretched out?
Yeah. You want it though? Yeah, give me this one. Okay, there's no stuff. Thank you. Okay, so what I'm going to show you, values are like this. If you take purple and you have a really, that's a really dark purple. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to add it to that. Okay. Needs to be actually a lot more white because we're on paper. That is the same color, but it's a little lighter. Okay. And then I'm going to take a more white and add it to this. And this is rather imperfect, but this is a dark purple, this is a medium purple, and this is a very light purple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and if we could make 10 different strokes of color, this is what they call values. This is a darker value, this is a medium value, and this is a lighter value.
Okay.
Okay, so if you can get a minimum of 3 different values in anything that you're making, it makes it look three-dimensional. It makes it look like it's popping out at you. And this is something it took me a lot of years to learn. And I am self-taught. And when I learned this, it really revolutionized my painting. So even working on a digital media, because Kara, you're going to get your digital online graphic program. You need to, that's a really good concept for you to know, because that's why if you can have like 3 different ones, like a dark, a medium, and like a highlight even, just those 3. If you're doing something three-dimensional, like you want it to look like it's popping out at you like real, you need those values in there. Now, I like to do it, you can do it with color too. So if you're, let's put a little bit of, are your mountains a little bit dry now?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were to put, you know how you had the brown, the back to the light brown?
Mm-hmm.
If you were to just mix that with white, like so that it was really, really light, this could be like, you know, that one of those values that's kind of in the middle or light, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you were to have snow on your mountains, well, that would really actually be good too, because it would make that happen as well. See how it's becoming a little bit more, not much snow in here, but we do have that very light orange, right? So you're going to mix the yellow with white and a tiny bit of red if you don't have the orange in your kit. But if you only have, if you do have the orange, you can even mix the orange with a bit of yellow and a bit of white, and you'll get a really light color like what we're seeing in the photograph, and you can lay some of that on the mountains a little bit now too. I recommend that your mountains are kind of dry when you do that, but see how I've got a little bit of that on there?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very, very pastel-y. What makes colors pastel is when you mix them with white, okay? Because it makes them very soft, and that's, pastel colors are very soft, right? So mix your yellow with a bit of white, a little bit of red, and then you get that orangey color, and very, very, very light. And then you can just very gently, like I call it scumbling. It's just basically just touching a little bit here and there, that orangey color on the mountains. And you do see it, if you're looking at your picture, you see it a little stronger in some places. So you can use your eye and just say, okay, I'm going to add it a little stronger there, a little darker. Okay, how I did that? Okay. Alrighty, so that's looking good. Yeah, you're getting on to that. So did that help with the value scale to understand like kind of what you want to get those varying intensities, values is what they're called, of colors into your painting, and then it really helps to make things become more three-dimensional and pop. Okay, so when you're ready, let me know, Kara. We'll move down the painting. I'm also doing a little bit of correcting here. Remember how I said, like my little triangle of orange that's in that long, thin one? I'm going to just make mine a little bit higher because I feel like I could, and this is where this paint is so wonderful. You can do that. You can see I'm just going to add to it. And it's going to bring it up even more. Isn't that cool? And that's why I like this paint, because it's so versatile that way. Okay? I'm going to take some yellow and I'm going to just layer a little bit of that in the background here too. I just put a line of yellow there. Okay, so when you're ready to move back onto that, like you can add some more orange to that. And you see on the mountains that are orange in the background, there is a few little lines that are darker. You can put those in right now if you want. Sometimes you don't even need to put them in. I find them. But this is the detailing part. Some of you are going to want to do a lot of detail, and some of you are not going to. And that's okay, whichever you decide. Okay, so before we start coming down, you see you have your hill in the background with those trees. We made it a green triangle. We can do some detailing in that area now. Now I have a very dark green. I'm going to add some, I'm going to take the red and I'm going to mix it with a bit of white because I want it to be quite light. And I'm going to take red and white, I'm going to mix it so that it's quite thick and strong. And I'm going to put some of it broken into this hill. I'm going to just bring some here. Because if you look, you see that it's not all totally solid green. I just had you put that in there so that you could know that that's kind of going to be that plane that we're working on. And I think it's kind of like a hill. And once you get that in there, even if it doesn't look exactly right, you can, probably you're going to need a little bit more red. Yeah, it's good. That's the kind of pink you would get if you were just mixing to try to get pink, which wouldn't work, would it? Yeah, so, and I wonder which red you have. You can get more red if you've got some different reds too. Yeah, that's looking good. So you put some of your lines in there, and then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my green, and I know you're listening while you're doing this, and don't worry, I'll stop too. And I'm going to mix it with a bit of red, the green and red. Just totally mix those together. And that makes, those are opposite on the color wheel, those two colors. This one was kind of thick, so I'm going to take my red and just make it a little thinner. See how I just thin it out? Right? And then I'm going to grab a little bit more of the yellow and I'm going to just make a few little lines in here, just a few little ones. just to show that there's, you know, stuff growing back here, but it's pretty far away, okay? So as far as yours goes, Kara, when we, that's great, that looks good. Okay, so now we're going to, your hill looks better than my hill. Not that I always say this, don't compare, but I like your hill better than the one that I've done, because I tried it with that dark green, but I like the green that you must have used, the lighter green, which I'm going to try a little bit of that on top of my green here now, because I kind of like it better. It was a good choice. And I have to tell you one thing, I learned lots. When I do have people painting in classes, like some people do, like, I'm like, I never would have thought of that. How did they do that? So you guys are going to see things and do things differently too, that are going to just be, it's going to be a bit of an experimentation process, and I think it'll be fun for you. Now, some of you do have black, and some of you don't. Like I said, I'm not a fan of black. So you do have a dark brown. So when you have a dark brown, if you mix it on your tray, you don't have to get all of this out, Kara, because I'm going to give you some dark in a sec. But if you have a bit of dark brown, if you mix it on your tray with a bit of the dark blue, dark brown, dark blue, and then if you even add a little bit of red to that, okay, you gotta make it darker again. You have to kind of mix it till you get where you want to be. It needs a fair bit of blue. You can make, look at that. It's like, it will register almost like a black on your picture, okay? Now the reason I've done that is because I'm going to put a little bit of green on the side, and I'm going to mix it with that little dark color that I made, and I'm going to put, remember I said about the value, that's a pretty dark value, that's a pretty dark color here. So I'm going to take my brush, and if you've got the smaller one, that's great. I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to make some little trees just along here. This takes a little bit of work. You can use whichever brush you want. But remember how we had those trees up there? I'm going to put some of those trees in the top so that you see the little tops sticking out. And then there's some along, like right along here. Kind of a dark color, those trees. I just want to get that dark in, okay? So does that look more like the hill now? Okay, so, and then if you want to pick up some of your light green, you can just dab a little bit of light, like it could be some dark light green in there, see? A little bit of light green in there too. Okay? I think this is very synonymous of the Yukon, this picture. Like I think, doesn't matter where you're in the Yukon, you see these colors in the fall. And that's why I kind of picked this picture. It's just, I don't know where it is exactly, but my friend took a picture, and she's a photographer, and she said, oh yeah, you can use that one. I was looking through her stuff, but it doesn't matter. Like we see these colors, all like that lower brush color and the willows, and we just see that a lot, okay? Okay, so and you can always look at the photo too, to see, like, you know, I notice that when I look at the photo, just a few pointers, like there's lines of like the trees kind of grow going up a hill, like on a line, and then these are the lower ones, and then there's some darker color up here, and you kind of see it, right? How like if you can grab those lines a little bit to make it look like you're going up a hill a little bit, because you'll see the ones at the bottom, and then you'll see ones in the middle here that are kind of on another top of a hill, and then you'll see ones at the very top, and yeah, it's good to kind of get that in there. See, this is where you can spend as much time detailing your work. Like, we're gonna be getting this painting to a certain point, and then you can always do more. Later, even, you could say, oh, I'm gonna add some of that. Or I'm gonna add some of this, or, you know. And I'm gonna grab a little brush, because while you have that dark color going, like, see over here as well, like there's little trees along here too, just along here, so you have to kind of get some of those. If you got some of those in, they'd be really small, wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, yeah. Oh, it's raining again. It's a rainy day. in Destruction Bay. Okay, so I'm just going to put a few lines just in these back hills back here, and all I have is a very light brown. Remember I was saying on that really brilliant orange hill? Just have a quick look here. I'm just putting a few little lines just to give you a sense that they have just a couple here and there. There we go. I don't even want to do too much to that because I don't want to ruin that beautiful orange. It really pops out in your picture and in the photograph too, that nice orange. So I think I'm just going to do that. Let me know when you're ready, Kara, because we can move on to the next part. So just while Kara's working, there's no hurry, I'm going to just talk about a few things. So if you've gotten that hill, where there's the I call it the spruce trees or the evergreen trees, and you've kind of got some of those darks in there, you can add a few little details, like with little dark lines for those little tiny trees. You can see them in your photo. You can add a little bit of a light brown just as a shadow in your orange mountain. And as far as these trees, that like there's a line of that yellowy pitch in the middle of those willows that are kind of growing right near where I'm going to be putting the bigger evergreens that are kind of sitting very close to the front, but I haven't put those in yet. So whenever, I'm going to actually show you another little thing while I can tell that Kara's doing a little bit of detailing there, some things, and if you want me to, when you're ready to move down to the front, we will. So, yeah, that's good. That's great. You've got a nice color there. She just mixed a really nice, very light brown, and it does dry a bit darker. Usually I find this paint grows a tone darker, dries a tone darker, so it's okay for that. Okay, so in the front, we're going to have some grass, and if you look in the front, it's almost like the wind is kind of blowing it over. You see that? It's a really nice effect. This is where I sort of change things sometimes. I don't do everything exactly the same as the picture. I found that when I put this area in here, I think it's the lichen. I didn't really like the way it looks, so I took it out. But you guys can try and put it in if you want. I didn't really like it in my picture, so I didn't put it in. See this one, this one was a really quick one. This was so quick. And now you have two of them, you see, and I think this one's almost a little nicer, hey? But I didn't get any of the lines in the back mountains on this one. I just really just blocked it in and stuck the trees in. Okay, so, oops, I'll put that one back up again. Okay, so maybe I'll just switch this and I'll put my little canvas on this so I don't have to hold it up in the air all the time. Okay, so in the front here, we're going to put this bush first, okay? It's a very big bush. You see, it almost goes right up into this area here. So you know how it's pretty close. So if you have a dark brown, I want you to use a dark, and remember I taught you about the values. You have a dark, a medium, and a light. Okay, well these are all greens. We have a very dark green.
Down at the bottom.
Yeah, but I'm going to use a brown, okay? Because I'm going to lay green, because I want to get that dark color. Okay, so if you watch what I do, it's like I just go like this and get that dark color, because it's the shadow underneath the bush, okay? And I'm going to get rid of this fine brush that I have, my thinner brush. I'm just going to get rid of that. I'm going to put some of that dark color